For this next part, we're going to talk about covalent compound. How do we draw the dot and cross diagram? So covalent means non-metal and non-metal. So in water, hydrogen and oxygen are both non-metals. Here it says show the valence electrons only. So hydrogen, we will draw, hydrogen has 1 electron, oxygen has 8 electrons. Oxygen will be 2.6, so we just draw 6 electrons for oxygen. So because we have 2 elements here, hydrogen, H2O, we must draw 2 hydrogen. We will both use dots for the electrons. Oxygen, we will use cross. Top, bottom, left, right, top, bottom. Then you ask yourself, how many does it need? So hydrogen needs 1 more. And oxygen needs 2 more. Oxygen needs to have 8 electrons to be completely filled. So look at the lonely dot, it joins with the lonely cross. The other lonely dot joins with the other lonely cross. So since it's a covalent compound, we must draw it sharing, meaning overlap. So our oxygen will be in the center. Oxygen looks like a Mickey Mouse, so we will draw hydrogen at the 2 corners. So 1 dot, 1 cross, and the other lonely dot and the other lonely cross. Then you realize your oxygen has 2 pairs of cross electrons, so we add them in. So with this, your oxygen will be completely filled with 8 electrons. Your hydrogen will have 2 electrons, completely filled. And we can draw it using this diagram. So what happens is you have 2 single covalent bond. 1 dot, 1 cross makes up 1 covalent bond. The next part is methane. Methane is made up of carbon and hydrogen, both are non-metals, so it's a covalent compound. So look at the periodic table. Carbon has 6 electrons, hydrogen has 1 electron. Here again they say show valence electrons only, so it's 2.4, so we only draw the 4 electrons. So carbon, since we use all cross, hydrogen, CH4, we need to draw 4 hydrogen, 1 electron each, all dots. Then how many more do you need? So carbon needs 4 more, because carbon needs to have 8. Hydrogen needs 1 more, hydrogen needs to have 2. Find your lonely crosses and find your lonely dots. And you realize, just nice, 1 cross will join with 1 dot. So covalent compound, sharing. Sharing means overlap. So my carbon in the center and my 4 hydrogen at the side. 1 dot, 1 cross in each. And you will see that carbon is completely filled, same for hydrogen. So we can draw it this way because there are 4 single covalent bonds. So a total of 8 electrons are being shared in methane. Now we have ammonia. Nitrogen and hydrogen both are non-metals. It is a covalent compound. In this case, they never say show the valence electrons only. So in this case, we must draw all the electrons. So nitrogen has 7 electrons. You must draw 2.5. So we draw nitrogen, 2 electrons, crosses, top, bottom, left, right, 5 electrons, crosses. NH3, so we must draw 3 hydrogen, all will be dots. Then you can ask, how many more do you need? So nitrogen needs 3 more electrons, while hydrogen needs 1 more. Find your lonely crosses and your lonely dots. You will find that they will come together. So now we must draw our first shell first, because we must draw all the electrons. Now we draw our second shell with the pair of electrons. Then we draw in our 3 hydrogen, sharing 1 dot, 1 cross. So if you look at nitrogen, now the second shell is completely filled with 8 electrons, and hydrogen has 2 electrons each. So if we have 3 single covalent bonds in ammonia. Okay, good job. The last one here is the one that's a bit slightly more complicated. This is carbon dioxide. Here we are back to showing the valence electrons only. So carbon has 6 electrons, oxygen has 8 electrons. Write down the configuration 2.4 and 2.6. We only need to draw 4 electrons for carbon and 6 electrons for oxygen. So let's draw carbon first. So the 4 electrons for carbon, I use crosses. So for oxygen, CO2, there must be 2 oxygen atoms. So with 6 electrons in the valence shell, top, bottom, left, right. Draw one more. Top, bottom, left, right. Top and bottom. So how many does it need? Okay, so carbon and oxygen both needs to have 8, and we are finding the lonely crosses and the lonely dots straight away. So this lonely cross will be with the lonely dot at the bottom. Same for the rest. So what do we do next? We draw carbon in the center. Then we draw one oxygen and the other one each on the side. Okay, now you see there are 2 dots and 2 crosses. Those lonely dots and crosses, it will go into one side. Then you look at the 2 dots and the 2 crosses, those will be on the other side. So we have drawn everything in for carbon, but for oxygen, we have 2 pairs of electrons. So join the dots, top, bottom, as well as the other oxygen. Remember to join the pairs of electrons as well. And now if you look at it and count, you have 8 electrons for oxygen, for carbon, and for the other oxygen. So it is completely filled. So dot cross is a double bond, and you have 2 double covalent bonds.